On today's programme, See Hear goes to Covent Garden in London, where members of the public are treated to impromptu performances of Shakespeare's most famous and evocative speeches. But first, I'm sure that many of you managed to watch the opening ceremony of the recent Olympic Games, where the amazing Dame Evelyn Glennie, a deafened percussionist, took centre stage, playing to a huge capacity in front of a worldwide audience, which put her firmly on the map. See Hear went to the Philharmonic Hall in Liverpool to meet Evelyn, who was rehearsing in preparation for her performance at the Dada Fest.
Unlike some of the 100 live performances Dame Evelyn Glennie gives every year, the Olympic opening ceremony was a one-off, where she led over 1,000 drummers and was watched by millions from all over the world. This evening she is playing to a more intimate audience at the Liverpool Philharmonic. It's Saturday morning and she's arrived early in preparation to get a feel for the venue and to decide on which instruments to play.
Tonight's concert, I'm playing music that I have chosen myself. I've only brought along just a handful of instruments because I'm only playing for 30 minutes and the rest of the time I'll be giving a sort of quasi-speech in a way. But so this is unusual, an unusual combination for me.
Everything really has almost like a smell and a taste and a vision to it. All the senses come into play, and that's very important for me.
The evening's event is part of the Dada Fest, a festival of disability and deaf art based in Liverpool. Ruth Gould has been the CEO of the festival since she established it back in 2001.
We're trying to break what people think, the sort of stereotypes that can really restrict us in our thinking. Oh, you can't sing, you can't play instruments. We're quite excited about it because it's grown every year. And this year we want to do something really important to celebrate the Olympics and the Paralympics. So I thought it'd be great to ask Evelyn Glennie. She has been a role model for me since I was really young, because as a deaf person I never saw people in positions of authority, and I really wanted to be able to do things in the arts, and she was someone I looked up to. So I thought, let's ask her, why not? She can only say no. So I asked her and she said yes, and we're here, and I'm so excited. And that is one of the reasons we do Dada Fest, because we're showing people it's not what you think, and it's not what you can't do, it's what you can do.
Integration is really important for me. You know, my whole professional life is working mainly with hearing people, but we're all integrated through sound. And because it is an international organisation where a lot of work has to be done in most territories of the world to break down these barriers, their work is hugely important. So this instrument is called marimba, and as you can see there are many planks of wood, all made of rosewood. It's growing bigger and bigger and bigger every year, but it's a fantastic instrument full of wonderful sound, colour and expression. Now also what we call pitched instrument is this one. This is a new invention. It's actually called a halo. And I play it with my hands, and you can see these little dents there. Each of these dents produce an actual pitch. So this is an instrument that I'm still very much experimenting with. My my little group of toys and sound effects here. I've only got just a few tiny bits and pieces, but these are things that I can blow into. This instrument here is really interesting. It's called a waterphone, and I just popped a tiny little bit of water in there, and it's very heavy actually, but you can sense that, and I will get lots of different sound effects by using the bow. So percussionists, believe it or not, also use the bow to create sounds. These are like Super Bowl mallets, I mean, just anything. This one is kind of for my hair. You can get all sorts of sound effects by using different types of tools. And then if I truly had to be stranded on a desert island, this is the instrument I would like to have. Of course, the snare drum or side drum. And, you know, when I'm playing in such a big hall like this, to have such a small drum with a huge dynamic, fat sounds, thin sounds, all of that kind of thing, it's actually quite an incredible experience. So there's all sorts of layers of sound that come out of the snare drum.
Dame Evelyn is the first solo percussionist in Western music and has paved the way for others to follow. Growing up in Aberdeenshire, she started experiencing problems with her ears as a child and is now deafened.
I remember that I used to love playing outdoors, and being a farmer's daughter, I was always outside, and I found that my ears were getting very, very sore. I had more tests, and they discovered that the nerves were just deteriorating in the ears. Now, I had mumps when I was much younger, and they weren't sure if that was perhaps linked in some sort of way, but we don't know. But I was still at this stage where I thought music was fed through the ear. Sound was fed through the ear. Everything needed to come through the ear. So really, you know, the hearing aids would certainly boost the sound, but it wouldn't give me the clarity. And as a musician, dealing with many different frequencies, different attacks, different instruments and so on, different combinations of instruments, this was hugely confusing. So it was very frustrating trying to work out where I could get the emotional enjoyment out of playing music. Physically, this was all wonderful to do, but emotionally, it was becoming a very frustrating and quite a frightening experience. Eventually, my percussion teacher, he suddenly realised one day, and this was in a tiny music room that the lessons happened, just a tiny, tiny room, and he struck a drum, and he suddenly realised that actually I can feel the drum. And he asked me that question, Evelyn, when I strike this timpani, I think it was a kettle drum, and he said, can you feel that? And I listened, and I said, actually, yes, I can. And he said, where are you feeling it? And I said, well, I think I'm feeling it, maybe this part or wherever I was feeling it. And he said, let me play this other drum. And he struck the other drum. Now where are you feeling it? It was a higher pitch, so I was feeling it in a different part of my body. And that was the beginning of just completely opening up my body as some sort of resonating chamber. It was almost as though the body became a huge ear, in a way. It was a revelation. Because no longer was I trying to feed everything through this part of the body and being totally reliant on that. I was now able to distribute the sound throughout the body. That had a huge impact because suddenly I could then concentrate on the sense of touch, and that became the most important sense for me physically as a player. What's the difference between this sense of touch and that sense of touch to that sense of touch?
Different perspective as regards to that sound.
If I just asked you to stand up for me, oh, it's all right, I'm not going to do anything bizarre. And if you just turn around and come to me, and you open your mouth like this, tell me if these sound the same or different. Your mouth is open. What is it?
Louder.
Louder. Are the pitches the same? No. What's the difference?
Softer.
Softer on that one. Higher or lower? Lower. Thank you very much. So this is an example whereby even the tools we have... I simply do not, because I've experimented, listen to music. By that I mean I don't put a CD player on, or I don't use an MP3 player or anything like that, because that doesn't give me the enjoyment. It's kind of cosmetically enhanced sounds. The frequencies are not frequencies that I can distribute throughout the whole body. So it's very much up here. So that personally doesn't give me enjoyment. The enjoyment comes when I'm physically doing it, and it's the participation that's so important. And that's the kind of key thing I would really like to happen much more when kids are teeny weeny.
Evelyn also wants to perform at the Philharmonic because the event will include the Jasmine Flower, a new work by Liverpool's Pagoda Chinese Youth Orchestra. Performing with them will be the Liverpool Signing Choir, who also, like Evelyn, performed at the Olympic Games opening ceremony. The event will also feature a film from Shanghai Deaf School.
Zilan from the Liverpool Chinese Pagoda Centre contacted me and asked us did we want to do a collaboration for Jasmine Flower. So it's a mix of Chinese Sign Language and BSL.
So as well as Evelyn Glennie being part of the piece, the orchestra were keen to involve sign language too.
When I first came to this country, I found myself, I don't speak the language, and I ended up trying to sign. So I thought that's something that I'm really interested in. And with Chinese Sign Language, Chinese dance is very, the element of hand movement is very important. So to put in this Chinese Sign Language into dance is very natural in China. So I just thought here I want the young people with the orchestra to know about people can sing by signing. And that's why I want to approach the signing choir and I want to let our young people to know they can make music without a voice, just by signing.
It's been very interesting. It's quite unusual. We've never seen instruments like they use in the Chinese Youth Orchestra. And the young children there, they were so willing to learn sign language, and they actually learned 2 songs with our choir, so it was lovely.
The different to Chinese sign language and BSL. Chinese news, one hand. BSL news, 2 hands.
The Jasmine Flower is about 100 years old. It's about the pureness of the flowers. We put in the grime element into it, which is very, from what the boy said, is the latest trend. Is the grime and dubstep. So it's a very traditional Chinese music with very trendy grime music from, apparently started from London or something like that.
I think that the world of sound is very complicated, whether you're hearing or hearing impaired. I really do. But I think also we have our own identity that we like to hold on to, or we like to portray. There are deaf people who want to be known as deaf people, and that's fine. There are deaf people who don't want to be known as deaf people, who just happen to be deaf. There are people like myself who have been deafened, but yet who's involved with sound and understand the importance of sound, certainly in my life. And the eye, the visual aspect, is very important to me. That's how I hear, really. It really is. If I see something move, then I imagine sound. Or I suppose it's the imagination that's the important tool. But I also believe that I belong to anywhere I want to be. You know, that's really the difference. And I want to be able to communicate with people of my choosing. You know, I want to be in that position where I can instantly, in one form or another, communicate with another human being. The fact that we are breaking down these categories, which we think as human beings make much easier in our lives, i.e. if you're deaf, well, it means you can't hear. If you're blind, well, you can't see. If you're in a wheelchair, well, you can't walk. We make these assumptions, but actually you can perceive so much. Some of the blind people I know have the best vision in the world. Some of the deaf people I know really, you know, have listening skills far beyond so many people I know. And really, we've got to understand that the human body and the mind, the power of the mind, really allows us to do things that we just don't know how far we can actually go.